What if Naruto was an Uchiha Part 3? Naruto, Hinata, and Shino stood in the middle of Training Ground 8 in front of their sensei. The three genin hopefuls were ready to get the test started and prove they had what it took to be ninja of Konoha. Kurenai could see the determination in Naruto and Hinata's eyes and assumed Shino had the same look behind his glasses. She had heard Iruka and the Hokage talk about these three kids and what they were capable of. She had seen them training a few times and was amazed by the teamwork and coordination she saw between the three of them and couldn't wait to see what they could do firsthand. Glad to see you three are here on time. Now before we get started, I just want to let you all know that this test has a 66% fail rate. If the three of you fail this test, you will be sent back to the academy. She started and was glad to see that neither of them seemed taken back by this. She pulled out 2 bells and a clock from her pocket before continuing. You three have until noon to get these bells from me. There are only 2 bells, so that means one of you will be sent back to the academy today. Begin. Shino and Hinata immediately jumped back into the trees and suppressed their chakra. Naruto simply stood there for a few moments before biting his thumb and making a few hand signs. Kurenai saw this and pulled a kunai from her pouch and got in a defensive stance, waiting to see what Naruto would do. He slammed his hand to the ground. There was a small cloud of smoke, and when it cleared, it showed a small red snake-looking creature with wings. The small dragon looked up to see Naruto and quickly wrapped itself around his neck and rubbed its cheek against his. Good morning, Naruto-sama. How may I help you today? The dragon asked in a feminine voice. Good morning, Akane. I need you to find Shino and Hinata and lead them back to me once you find them, Naruto said, getting a nod from Akane before flying off. Naruto then turned around and walked off into the forest, leaving a confused Kurenai alone in the clearing. Was that a dragon summon? But there's no way. That summon's contract hasn't been seen since Kushina-sensei, Kurenai thought to herself before a thought entered her mind. Naruto is an Uzumaki too. Could he be Sensei's son? XXX, Naruto was sitting on a branch high up in a tree in the forest waiting for his teammates to show up. So what's your plan, Kit? Kurama asked. I have never seen a 3-man squad before. There has to be a different meaning to this test. If I had to guess, Kurenai-sensei wants to see if we will turn our backs on one another or if we will work together as a team or not, Naruto replied as he felt his teammates land on the branch behind him. Naruto stood and turned around to face his teammates before speaking. I'm sure you two have figured out this test by now, right? Naruto asked, getting a nod from Shino and Hinata. Well, I have a plan that might just work, Naruto said before he started explaining his plan. XXX, Kurenai walked out of the forest and into another clearing. It had been about 2 hours since the test started and she still hadn't seen any signs of her potential team. Suddenly she felt 2 chakra signatures and turned to see Hinata and Naruto come running out of the forest. From what I've seen and been told, these three wouldn't abandon one another, so that must mean Shino is somewhere nearby, Kurenai thought to herself as she pulled 2 kunai from her pouch and held them in a reverse grip. Naruto made it to her first and threw a punch at his sensei's face. She leaned back slightly to avoid getting hit and then threw her own punch at the blonde's ribs. The punch landed and pushed Naruto back a few feet, but he didn't let that stop him. He charged forward again and jumped into the air and tried to kick her in the side of the head. Kurenai leaned backwards into a handstand and kicked Naruto away in the process. She didn't get a break, however, when she had to start dodging Juken strikes from Hinata. After about a minute of dodging the Hyuga's attacks, Kurenai noticed that the attacks were sloppy, unlike what she had seen before. She grabbed Hinata's wrist and delivered an open palm strike to the girl's stomach. She wasn't expecting Hinata to poof into smoke from the hit. She barely had time to bring her kunai up to block Naruto's next attack. Uzumaki style, whirlpool slash, Naruto came spinning through the air at Kurenai, who stopped his blade with her kunai. I'll admit I was surprised to see you had a clone pose as Hinata. But you do know that you won't pass this test alone, Kurenai said. Naruto just looked at her with a smirk. Who said I was out here alone? Naruto asked. Kurenai then noticed another chakra coming up behind her and quickly kicked Naruto away. She turned around and started dodging Juken strikes from Hinata. She could tell this was the real Hinata by the way she moved and delivered each strike. She was wondering where Shino was, but her main focusing was on not letting any of Hinata's attacks land a hit. Hinata threw her arm forward to strike at Kurenai's shoulder, but was sent flying when Kurenai grabbed her arm and threw her. Naruto caught Hinata, causing the girl to blush at the closeness before they heard the alarm go off. Doesn't look like you all passed the test after all, Kurenai said. Just then Shino landed next to the other two genin and held out his hand showing he had the bells. While you were busy with Hinata and Naruto, I sent my Kakachu after the bells. Very well done, but who will you give the other bell to? Shino, Kurenai asked. Shino took the bells and threw them back at his sensei. Pass or fail, we do it as a team, Shino said, getting nods from Hinata and Naruto. Kurenai let a small smile grace her face before speaking. Congratulations teammate, you pass. Let's go get a mission and then we'll do some training, as they all started walking toward the Hokage Tower. Naruto, that creature you summoned back there, was that a dragon? Kurenai asked, getting a nod from the blonde. But that contract hasn't been seen since my mother was alive. Yes, Kurenai-sensei, Kushina Uzumaki was my mother, Naruto said, causing the other's eyes to go wide. Then that means your father is. Kurenai started once again only to have Naruto finish her sentence for her. The Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Please don't let anyone else know about this. I trust you all as my teammates not to tell anyone else, Naruto said as they continued to walk as he explained about his parents. XXX, it had been a month since Naruto and his team had become genin. For the last month they had been doing D-rank missions and training. They were currently walking back to the Hokage Tower with an angry Tora in Naruto's arms. They walked into the tower and gave the cat back to the daimyo's wife. Naruto may have felt bad for the cat had it not tried to claw his eyes out. Teammate then walked up to the Hokage to report their mission finished. Teammate reporting the capture Tora mission a success, Kurenai said as she and her team bowed before their leader, even with Naruto mumbling about feeding the cat to one of his dragons. The aged Kage let out a small chuckle at Naruto before looking through the mission scrolls he had available. Let's see, you can help the Inozukas walk their dogs, an elderly couple need help with some yard work, or before he could finish a Chunin walked through the door and bowed before the Hokage. Please forgive the intrusion Hokage-sama, but we just received a report from Team 7, the Chunin said as he handed the Hokage the report. Hiruzen read over the report before his widened a little. Neko shouted Hiruzen, and a moment later the cat-masked Anbu was kneeling in front him. Retrieve Team 10 and bring them here immediately. Teammate, please wait here until Team 10 arrives, Hiruzen said, getting a nod from the Anbu before she disappeared. Teammate was confused about what was going on but just decided to wait like they were told. 5 minutes later and in walked Team 10 led by Asuma. What's up Dad? Asuma asked as he stood next to Kurenai. This morning I sent Kakashi's team on a C-rank mission to guard a bridge builder from the Land of Waves while he finishes his bridge. The most they were expected to encounter was bandits, but it seems the client lied about the dangers of the mission. Kakashi decided to go ahead with the mission instead of returning here. I am sending teams 8 and 10 as backup. With 3 Jonin, there should be more than enough strength to finish out the mission, Hiruzen explained. Hi Hokage-sama, Kurenai and Asuma both said as they bowed. They turned to their teams. Pack for a month trip and meet at the main gate in 30 minutes, Asuma said as Kurenai nodded her head in agreement. Asuma, Kurenai, Naruto, please stay for a moment, Hiruzen said as the other genin left the room. Naruto, how much have you told your team about your secrets? Hiruzen asked. They know about my mother and father and the dragon contract. Kurenai-sensei knows about the Kyuubi, but as far as I know, Hinata and Shino don't, Naruto replied. So you haven't told anyone but me and Neko about your bloodline? Hiruzen asked, getting a nod from the blonde. What kind of bloodline is it, Dad? Asuma asked. That is not for me to tell. If Naruto wishes for anyone to know, that is up to him. If you happen to need to use it on this mission, Naruto, I'm sure Sasuke will demand answers if he sees it. If he tries to force you into anything, I am giving you full permission to retaliate in any way you see fit, Hiruzen said, getting another nod from the blonde. Before Naruto left, he turned to his sensei. I will explain everything in time, sensei. Just know that my bloodline will not bring harm to the team or the village, Naruto said before leaving. I want you two to keep an eye on Kakashi. I have had reports that he isn't focusing on training the whole team. Instead, he focuses solely on the uchiha. Maybe it is to repay a bit for something or something else entirely. Make sure he trains each of his students and if necessary intervene if you have to, Hiruzen said to his two Jonin, receiving nods before they left. The two Jonin arrived at the gate to find the genin ready to go. All right, Team 7 is about 6 hours ahead of us, so we need to get moving if we hope to catch them, Kurenai said. Sensei, I have a way to get us there without us having to use a lot of chakra to get there, Naruto said as he walked outside the gate. He bit his thumb before making a set of hand signs and slamming his hand to the ground. Summoning Jutsu. There was a large puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, Team 10's eyes were wide. Standing before them was a large dragon with dark, red scales and a beige-colored stomach. The dragon looked down at Naruto and a smile spread across his face, giving him a slightly terrifying look. What do you need from me, Naruto-sama? Asked the dragon. If you would Igneel, I need you to fly us to the land of waves to catch up with a team that left earlier today. We are needed for backup, Naruto said. Of course, Naruto-sama, the now named Igneel replied as he lowered his body so Ninja could get on. Once everyone was on his back, he let out a loud roar and took off into the sky. XXX, Team 7 along with Tazuna had just made it to shore and got off the boat they were on. As they started walking along the road towards Tazuna's house, they heard something coming from the trees. They got ready to attack whatever it was until they saw Teams 8 and 10 land in front of them. Asuma and Kurenai walked up to Kakashi as he began to speak. I take it you all are the backup I requested? How did you all get here so fast? Kakashi asked. Asuma started to speak but Kurenai beat him to it. Let's just say special transportation and leave it at that for now, Kurenai said, knowing Naruto didn't want to reveal too much right now. Kakashi simply nodded and the group of ninja and one civilian started walking again. After about 30 minutes of walking, Sasuke threw a kunai into a bush. He walked over to see what it was only to pick up a rabbit. Naruto looked at the rabbit for a moment before he noticed something. The rabbit's fur is wrong for this time of year, Naruto thought to himself. Kit, behind you. Get down, Kurama yelled out in Naruto's mind. As Kurama yelled at him, he yelled at everyone else. All the ninja reacted quickly except for Sakura and Ino. When they saw the blade coming at them they froze. Kiba had managed to tackle Sakura to the ground but left Ino standing there. Naruto jumped toward her and knocked her out of the way, but didn't move fast enough to dodge the blade. Naruto screamed in pain as the large blade was stuck horizontally across his chest a few inches deep. Kurenai and Hinata both hurried over to Naruto and gently pulled the blade from his chest and tossed it away to try and begin to heal him. Shino, Shikamaru, and Choji took up positions around Naruto waiting for whoever threw the blade. Ino sat there in shock as she watched Kurenai try and heal her student. Suddenly everyone heard laughter and looked to find it coming from Sasuke. The dope god himself killed just to save a worthless kunoichi, Sasuke said. Everyone but Team 7 was tempted to beat Sasuke right then but had more important issues to deal with. Kurenai, take your team and Tazuna and get to his house and help Naruto. Shikamaru, Choji, Ino go with Team 8. I'll stay here with Kakashi and his team and hold off whoever is coming, Asuma said, getting a nod from Kurenai and his team. After they left, Asuma and Kakashi turned to see two men walk out of the fog. One they knew as the Demon of the Mist, Zabuza Mamachi. The other man had orange hair, a black kimono, and what looked like a sword on his back. Well, that's one Leaf Ninja down, 11 more to go. What do you say we see just how good these Leaf Ninja are, Ichigo? Zabuza asked. Sounds like fun to me, sensei, replied Ichigo as he unwrapped his blade. You will pay for what you did, Asuma said as he and Kakashi took up their fighting stances.